And welcome back into the Joe Thomas half hour of the program here on Cleveland Browns Daily. The great Hoff is here. Look, this is a tough one. It's a tough one, Hoff. As you're taking this one in on a Sunday, where is most of your frustration as now a Browns fan and analyst?
Well, it's split between the Badgers and the Browns at this moment because the Browns, although they broke my heart on Sunday against the Steelers, I didn't see it coming quite as much as what happened when the Badgers got smashed on homecoming against Iowa. So that hurt. But I think where I probably direct most of my ire is just how on offense we're so inept. Like, I realize we have a rookie quarterback, but we should be able to get some more points than we are right now because we've got some good players. We have professionals out there. We've got some solid pieces on the offensive line. We got weapons at tight end. Like, we need to be able to just move the ball more down the field specifically. We need to be able to get some shots into the middle of the field, more than 10 yards to stretch out a defense and score more points. Football is hard. There's no doubt. Pro football is very hard, but we're making it look harder than it should be because we're just not scoring points. We're not efficient. We're not fun on offense. And I think that's the frustration probably for a lot of Browns fans. Like, we know mostly we probably weren't going to win the Super Bowl going into this season, but we thought we'd be able to have a little bit of fun along the way. We thought on offense, we'd be able to sprinkle in some nice plays and maybe we'd get a chance to see some of these young quarterbacks do some fun things, but none of that has happened. And for as good as Dylan played in the first game, you didn't feel like there was a lot of follow through. And the danger of having a young quarterback who's afraid to make some big throws down the field and take some chances is that defenses are pretty smart and they're watching the film and they're getting the tendencies. And if you're not going to push the ball and you're only going to throw to guys that are wide open at short range, defenses are going to figure that out. And it's going to make it even more difficult. And what we thought was maybe a good, bright, young start in London to Dylan Gabriel's career is going to keep getting worse and worse until he realizes that, hey, we can throw the football down the field because we have to. We have to force the issue. We have to threaten a defense with some down the field throws because otherwise they're just going to keep creeping closer to the line of scrimmage. And now they're going to even start jumping some of the shorter stuff. And then now it's going to be more interceptions and more mistakes. And so I guess if that was one thing, then there's your one thing that gave me the greatest amount of frustration there over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell as that game went on that they were not even concerned at all. And here's the thing. When you run a lot of these, what we call shot plays, when you run those, you've got to read them top down. And if the vertical's open, you've got to throw it. And I think our process is so sped up that we are completely just going down and waiting and looking, just trying to get rid of the football, just trying to survive, I guess. But at some point, it's that balance, right, of being aggressive but not putting the ball in danger. But to make some of the plays, you watch quarterbacks around the league, and I know everybody, and certainly in this area, is talking about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield puts the ball in peril a lot.
Yeah.
But he's making plays. He's being aggressive and throwing into some tighter windows and certainly pushing the ball vertically. It's too hard, and I think we have too many limitations right now as a Cleveland Browns offense to try and run 10, 12 plays drives. It just isn't going to happen. So the only way you can run less than is you got to get some chunks, and that requires most likely throwing the football down the field.
It's great to not have any interceptions. It's great to not turn the football over when you're a young quarterback, but you have to be able to walk that fine line between not putting the ball in harm's way unnecessarily and taking chances, because being a quarterback is all about taking calculated risks.
Yep.
And
exactly.
When the moment is there, you got to let it rip. Otherwise, it becomes an impossible task to move the football down the field 3.5, 4 yards at a time in the NFL.
Yeah, it does. He's a rookie quarterback making his second start in Pittsburgh. So all of those things are part of it too. And I think that to me, guys, there's so many problems here offensively. But if you watch, and you mentioned Baker, if you watch the game last night and you see Goff and the way that they handle it, this is playing quarterback at the expert level. But the other thing is they have guys who, when they catch it, can take it to the house. Starts with catch, right? If you have a rookie quarterback, catch it if it hits you in the hands. I mean,
Yep.
You got to do that. Like, that's basic stuff. So what I think is the other thing that's really troubling here is we're not really putting a rookie quarterback in a position to succeed either. And so bad habits are now becoming who he is. And maybe that's who he is a little bit anyway. He's a third-round pick. But there's nothing that we do that's scary for a defense right now, Hoff. And the one thing that I thought was Quinshon Judkins, but then we kind of didn't get the full Quinshon Judkins experience yesterday either.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't at least feed Judkins more. I mean, he had 12 carries in the game. He only had a 3-yard average. It was pretty obvious that Pittsburgh's defense was saying, all right, as long as this guy doesn't beat us, we're going to be okay and we're going to win this game. But when he's really your best weapon on offense and he's a rookie and he's a guy that you're trying to still incorporate in the offense and figure out what are the run schemes that he likes the most, what are the blocking schemes that the offensive line really likes with him in there, I still think you need to be able to find a way to get him the football because he's your most explosive weapon on offense. And the last thing you want is your quarterback throwing the ball 50 times. So I was pretty surprised that they didn't just feed him the ball more or even just give him an opportunity to get some shorter passes. Just put the ball in his hand. He's your best player. He had 0 receptions. He had 12 carries. He needs to touch the ball 20 times every game. I really think that that's the way it is. And understanding that he is your best asset on offense. He's the guy that's going to take the most pressure off your quarterback. And even if it means in some more unconventional ways, I think he needs to be a much bigger part of the game plan.
Yeah, and the one that just surprised me that I just still have not really been able to figure out is you get it down there, the Browns are, down, you're down 23-6. I mean, obviously you need a lot to go your way here. But you get first and goal after they call that pass interference on Jerry Jeudy. You get first and goal at the Pittsburgh 3. Judkins doesn't even come on the field. Now, earlier in this very drive, when it was you got a 6-yard run from Judkins when you kind of lined up everybody. It was on a 4th and 2 with the Steelers 30. You brought in Huntington. You got big, and he ran for 6 yards, kind of into nothing, into a wall, and still got 6. And we start off at the 3. We go shotgun pass. Shotgun pass gets sacked for 11 yards. I don't understand that sequence. Can you maybe give us some insight? What could be the thinking there? Why you wouldn't want to just go up there and run it? Or were you as surprised as I was?
Yeah, I was surprised. And I think when you look at their red zone inefficiency, they were 0 for 3. And when you're kicking field goals with this offense, like that's an immediate loss. Like it's so hard for them to get down there and get into the red zone. And when you're in the red zone, all the space gets a lot tighter. Everything gets more compressed. And so I'm thinking, okay, run the ball. That's where you have to be the most effective running the football is in the red zone because your passing windows are way tighter and it's just more difficult because defenses are even closer to the line of scrimmage because they don't have to defend the length of the field so they can disguise more. It's just a really difficult place for a rookie quarterback. The precision has to be so much higher. So leave Quinshon on the field, get him the football. And at this point, we're not going to make the playoffs. So it's more about, hey, let's see what these guys can do. Let's not try to trick anybody out of anything. Yeah, there comes a time and a place where you still need to keep the defense honest and be creative and get some nice trick plays in there. But I think within the context of saying that, you need number 10 on the field at all times when you're in the red zone. I just think that he's too much of a weapon. He's too important, especially when you do get into the red zone to try to punch the ball in there. He's a guy that you want to lean on. He's your workhorse. He's your best asset. Put him in the game. Give him the football. Now, you don't want to be completely predictable, but you still got to leave him in the game to give him the threat. And the defense is the most afraid of this dude. So even if you don't hand it to him, when he's on the field, at least it opens up some of the other options.
And to me, again, it was at a point in the game where, look, was a comeback likely? No, it wasn't. But this was a game in which it felt like, for a lot of it, the Steelers' level of physicality was above our level of physicality. That's not saying I'm not saying guys weren't playing hard for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just saying they were being a physical, violent team, I thought, throughout the game. And look at the list of injuries that we've got, and some of it was clean, some of it was on the teetering on maybe not necessarily being clean. Andrew Siciliano was losing his mind. He was going apoplectic at points during the game about the physicality. But I looked at that as a chance to make a statement as well. Like, you're not going to big brother us. We're going to line up, and we're going to just shove it down your stinking throats. And we're going to get out there, and we're going to show you that, yeah, you may have won this game, but we're going to match your physicality. In fact, we're going to take it to you right here. And I thought maybe that was a chance to not only – you want to get in the end zone. That's the goal, obviously, but to do it in a way that could be maybe galvanizing even going forward. Does that matter, or is that something that's made up by us when you guys in there, in the trenches are not even thinking about, hey, let's exert our will on them?
Yeah. So I think back to my first year under Eric Mangini, 2009. We started 1-11. We weren't a very good team. We had terrible receivers. We didn't have great quarterback play, but we had a good offensive line. We had an okay defense. And we just said, hey, look, we're going to create an identity this year. We're not making the playoffs, but it's about an identity that we're trying to create for this season, for these players, and then for the future. So we just said, we're going to be physical. We're going to run the football, and we may lose the game, but you know what? They're going to walk away from this game licking their wounds, and they're going to be in the ice tub, because what we can do and what we can control is how physical we are, how hard we hit those dudes, and we're going to make them say uncle by the end of the game, because we're going to run the ball right at them. We're going to beat them up all over the field, and we're going to play some good defense and hard defense on the other side. And eventually, at the end of the season, we went on a 4-game winning streak. Now, it was meaningless in the end, but it felt good for us, because we said when we were going through that losing at the beginning of the season, we need to create an identity. Our identity is going to be that we're more physical and we're tougher than you are. And by the end of the season, especially those teams that were maybe not in the playoff hunt and they were coming to Cleveland and it was cold and it was nasty and they didn't really feel like playing, we were going to win that game, not because we were a better team or we had better athletes, but we were just going to be more physical. And it gave you something to rally around. And I think that's really important when you have a season that's slipping away at 1-5 now. What is the thing that's going to get you excited to show up? It's certainly not chasing the playoffs at this point, but it's, hey, you know what? We're going to be a tough out. We're going to be physical. Teams are not going to want to see us. And that can give us some pride in who we are and the identity that we're going to try to create here for next season and for the year after and for the guys that are here that are young players. And so I think it's really important to have that thing, because if you don't have that thing, then you start losing effort. So pointing to physicality and toughness and how hard you're going to play and how physical you're going to play, I think is a really important rallying cry that I would really like to see them adopt moving forward in the season. And I think it starts a lot of times with the plays that you call and the things that you emphasize during the week of practice, and then the things that you emphasize on game day. This is what we want to be. This is who we are.
It was so interesting as you're asking Joe that question. I wrote down identity, because that's it. Like, what is the identity of this operation offensively? What should it be?
It had been Quinshon for a couple of weeks.
For sure. Yeah. That's the whole thing. If you think back to the conversations you and I had in the summer around this team when it was being built around Kenny Pickett, we kept saying we're going to try to win games 20-17, 17-10, 17-13. Like, we're not getting to 17 right now, but like that was what they were shooting for. I mean, we didn't add a ton of weapons in the offseason. We didn't. Like, this is kind of what it is this is what they were shooting for, and obviously they were hoping they'd be more efficient. But this is what was in the brochure.
For sure. And the tough part about this, and Hoff, you know this, is when that is your quote unquote MO or your identity, and you kind of eschew the notion that we're going to try to outscore you, you have a very low margin for error, because there really is only one game script or game flow that you can win with.
Yep.
And so far, special teams have not been great. And here's another one in this week. It's Cam Thomas. Could have been a tough call, sure, but like, you got to make your own breaks, and we're not going to get benefit of the doubt because we haven't been good. It's like why Michael Jordan would get calls over somebody like a Del Curry, who wasn't bad, but he wasn't Michael Jordan.
No, right, yeah.
So you've got to make your own destiny, and the margin for error, special teams, that extends a drive that turns it into a touchdown. That's basically a turnover, because we were going to get the ball, and instead it extends it for Aaron Rodgers. He goes down, they get a touchdown, and it blows the game wide open. We don't have, right? I mean, heck, we don't have the ability to score 20 points, period, right now.
No.
I hope we do. You're going to need to. But our margin for error is just so small. So when you think about how do the Browns keep losing, and you say to yourself, it's going to be a special teams blunder of a variety of, it could be a punt return for a touchdown. It could be running the punt or extending a drive. It could be missed field goals in week one. It's going to be on offense, pre-snap penalties. So many pre-snap penalties.
Yep.
Drop passes. And from a quarterback perspective, when we actually do scheme something up and it's there and it's blocked up, we're not even throwing it down the field because I think we're so shell-shocked by everything else. And then you say, none of that is winning. So I'm looking for small victories. Number one, I'd like this team. I'd like to be fun to watch. So like, I'd rather Jameis Winston was fun to watch.
Yep.
We didn't win a lot. He actually won 2 games, 2 of our 3 last year, but there was something fun to watch, and we need to find that. And if that's going to be, because there can be something beautiful about lining up our 11 guys, bringing Aiden Huntington in, bringing Luke Whippler into 3, and be like, we're going to run it 4 times in a row. You know it, we know it, everybody in the crowd knows it, and we're going to impose our will, because at least we know we can do that. That's why I would have liked to have at least seen that, because we're not like, we get down by 9 or 10, it feels like we're down 30.
Yeah.
And that's a tough way to play in this league. This is it. No matter what you say, and we went through all the numbers. We screamed weapons, 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 all up and down.
Yeah.
This is a scoring league. Like, you have got to, when all else goes wrong, you've got to be able to score. And you've got to be able to throw the football when other teams know you've got to throw the football. That's, you want to win Super Bowls, you want to win divisions, that's the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have that.
No. But that, I suppose that will be something that, I guess, Hoff, the question to you is, when you guys did that in 2008 or 9 or whenever that was, your rookie year, how did you flip that? How did you say, did you guys as an offensive line put it on yourselves? Like, we're going to go, this is who we are. Like, how did you get that flipped?
Yeah, I think that it was 2009. It was my first year with Mangini, so it was my 3rd year in the NFL, but it was a collective among the offensive line, like, hey, this is where we're going to be. We may not win a lot of games, but you know what? We're going to hurt the other guys in the process. We're going to be physical, and we're going to be tough. We're going to run the ball right at you, and demanding that from the man calling the plays, and the way that you scripted practice from the beginning of the week on the Monday, talking about, hey, all these pass plays are great and everything, but let's make sure that what we're focusing on during the week of practice is being physical, running the football, and then making sure that showed up in the script on Friday and Saturday when you went through the walkthrough and you went through your first 30 or first 15 plays. And it was just a matter of being accountable to each other, and also with the coaches being accountable to you, saying, you know what, I remember Brian Daboll was our offensive coordinator, and the beginning of his tenure, he loved to throw the ball, like all offensive coordinators. But he would always tell us, we want to be physical, we want to run the ball. And so we just kept reminding him, like, hey, you want to be physical, you want to be tough. That's who we want to be in Cleveland. Like, you can't tell us that and then have 9 out of the first 15 plays be called passes, right? Like, let's make sure that we're following through with saying who we want to be. And I think with this team, the emphasis needs to be, let's not beat ourselves. We want to be tough. We want to be physical. We want to run the ball, but penalties are unacceptable. Done. Period. That's it. No penalties, because that's something that we can control. No drops. That's something that we can control. And then from there, it's a mindset. It's an attitude that you have to have, that every play, I'm going to get the better of the guy across from me. And maybe I'm going to screw up the play. Maybe I'm not going to take the right footwork. But you know what? I'm going to do it in a physical, tough manner, because this is the identity that we're trying to create.
You mentioned the penalties. Okay. In your experience, what is the most effective way to do it? Are you yanking guys out of games? Are you saying that you do this in practice? You're running. You're going to be inactive. We're fining you. What actually does it? Because let's be honest about it. We commit penalties every year.
That's who we are.
We've dropped the ball every year. We finally cleaned up the giveaways 2 games in a row. That's fantastic. That's welcoming. But we've been, one of the worst turnover teams years in a row. So what's the most effective way to actually reach players? Because it feels like we're searching for that answer.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of like making guys run, because I think that can sometimes be counterproductive. But I think what you need to do is you need to be annoying from a coaching standpoint, to the point where every single meeting you're bringing up the penalties, who created the penalties, calling them out in meetings, holding them accountable. And like, to the point where guys are sick of hearing about who had a penalty in practice. You're keeping track of that. You're making sure that that's the first thing you talk about in your meetings when you come back and you review the tape. Like, you can't emphasize everything. That's one of the things that I took from Coach Pettin, Mike Pettin, when he was our head coach. He said, football is a game of a million things, but if you try to coach a million things to the players, they're going to get nothing out of it. You can only emphasize really like one thing at a time, because that's the thing that they're going to hear the most. And so that's what I would do if I was the coach in that position. And I would start every meeting with a penalty report from the day before. If it's Monday, it's a penalty report from the game, and have those guys that created the penalties maybe stand up in front of their teammates and explain what happened and why they had a penalty, right? Because in the end, the accountability is always the greatest when it's your teammates, your coworkers, your friends that are the ones that are holding you accountable. And I don't know, I've never been on a team that did that. I just thought of that off the top of my head, but I'm like, you know what? That'd be a great way to do it. Like, hey, stand up in front of a jury of your peers and tell us what happened and why you're trying to kill this team.
Yeah,
I like it.
Why is running potentially counterproductive? Just because you could get somebody.
Well, because it feels like it's very high school. No, I don't think like it's something that would injure a guy or something. I just think it's way, way more efficient to have a guy stand up in front of his peers and embarrass them, to be totally honest. I think that if you make guys run, they're going to feel like it's like high school Harry, you know.
I remember the guy from the Giants. Who was the head coach of the Giants? It was the special teams coach of the Patriots.
Oh my gosh, I can see his face. Why can't I see?
It'll come anyway. When they came here
mustache?
for joint practices, and we kind of whooped up on him, and he made them all run, and you could it was palpable that they were like done with him.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. Like, if you're on a team that's winning, you can do anything. You can make guys run, and if they have penalties, and you can preach whatever you want, and guys are going to buy in. So it's much harder to get guys to buy in when you are losing, when you feel like you're overmatched in these games. And I think in those situations, if now guys are losing practice time because they're running, because of penalties, it can be something that is counterproductive, because you're starting to lose the locker room a little bit. You're losing your influence over those guys, and it becomes less of a player-driven initiative. Whereas, like, if you've got your captains there and they're in the beginning of a meeting and they're having like, okay, Joe Thomas, left tackle, why don't you stand up there? And this is coming from the other leaders, the other captains, and tell us why you jumped off sides in this situation. Like, that would be humiliating to me. And now it's going to be the front of my mind when I'm going through practice and when I'm going into the games, like, wow, this is really important. Like, I don't want to have to talk to the jury of my peers and admit my mistake and then explain to them why I lost the game. Like, that would be awful. Way worse than running. And I think if you just make them run, it's like, all right, screw this. I'm not listening to this dude anymore. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's running a high school program.
You're the Hoff, though, and you would get embarrassed to stand up because you had one penalty. But that's what makes you great. He also
holds himself accountable.
Yes, but I don't think
to his own standard.
I don't think there are 53 Hoffs in the average NFL locker room, and from a mentality standpoint.
I think you're right, but I think that's why you have to build that mentality, maybe, right? That maybe the mentality is built by making them stand up there and pleading their case to their peers why they feel like they should still be in the position they're in, even though they're creating penalties, which we know are leading directly to losses because, like you said, our margin of error, especially on offense, is enormously thin. So the things that we can control, that penalties, the drop passes, the missed assignments, like those are the things that you just have to reiterate over and over and over again and build the accountability within the guys. Like, hey, look, you're letting your teammates down when you don't make this the most important thing that you're thinking about going into a game.
Time for the Trench Report, brought to you by Big Fig, the mattress made for more, crafted in Cleveland, just like our Browns. Let's focus on one big important note. Our buddy Joel Bitonio, Hoff, he tied you. His 167th career start, so he will break the record Sunday. What does it mean to you to have him join you on that list and then on Sunday pass you?
Yeah, shout out to the great Joel Bitonio, man. I love that guy as a human, as a football player, as a Cleveland Brown, and it brings me great joy that he's up there moving up the list, getting closer to the top of the list for all-time starts in a Browns helmet. He deserves every bit of accolade and praise that he's had. I hope he continues to play and continues to make a case for himself as a Hall of Famer, because I definitely want to go and party at his Hall of Fame party because one, he deserves it, and two, it would be a really fun party, and I would be able to enjoy it again in the way that I did enjoy my own party.
Yes, you did. The bar is high.
The Huff had a good time. I didn't know this.
Yeah, the bar is high for enjoyment at a party.
Quite literally, everybody there. It was like 16 candles. For God's sakes, your Hall of Fame party. Everybody had a great time with that.
The best time.
Buddy. The best. On a serious note,
like Frank the Tank. Everybody knows
he was
Frank.
That's right. Hoff, what type of challenge is this now for Kevin? You got Miami coming in. How do you not lose? How do you keep everybody rowing in the same direction here? Because 1-5 is 1-5. Everybody can see it.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day because close with Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, and obviously they're in a similar situation. And I was like, if I ran into Luke trick-or-treating here in a couple of weeks, which our kids usually trick-or-treat together, I'm like, if we started talking ball, and he asked me like, hey, I know you've been on some losing teams. Maybe he would be kind about it. Maybe he'd be like, hey, look, you lost a lot of games. You were in a similar position. How did you guys get through this? How did you make yourself better? And I go back to like one of the things that I talk to my kids about. Like if your brain is ever feeling like you're disorganized and you're feeling anxious and stressed, like how do you get back to feeling calm where you can be productive and you can feel like you're moving in the right direction and everything's under control? And it's about focusing on one thing at a time. It's trying to, instead of focusing on everything at once and the big things and the stress and the anxiety of being 1-5 and where the season's headed, like not thinking about that, but thinking about an identity. Who are we? What do I want to do? And find little things that you can work towards each day and then each week. Instead of talking about, hey, we need to win this game and this is how we're going to do it. Think about like who we want to be. Who is the player and the team that I want to go out there on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I want the fans to say, this is what I'm seeing out there. And I think from the Browns standpoint, I think it's really important to say, we want to be the most physical team on any field that we play on. And that will be what they can focus on. We want to be the most physical. We want to be the most detailed team that makes the least amount of self-inflicted wounds. Like if you can just say that's who we're going to be, that's what we're going to focus on every single day. And we're going to create a game plan that's creative enough, but simple enough where we're not going to make any mistakes, because that's who we want to put on tape for the rest of the season. And so I think, like we talked about earlier, like we want to be a physical team. How are we going to do that? Well, it's how we practice. It's how we approach meetings. It's how we call our plays. It's how we rotate our personnel in different situations. And you know what? When we do get to the red zone, we're going to throw it a little bit, but you know what? Put it on the offensive line, right? Put it on those big guys up front. Put it on Quinshon. We're going to give them the football, and we're going to give them an opportunity to create a name for themselves within the NFL about, you know what? That Cleveland offensive line, that run game, they're tough. I don't know if they're going to rush for 100 yards every single week, but if I'm a defense, I don't want to see them because they're going to run through my face and out the backside. And I just think that that's like what you have to focus on. You have to focus on creating that identity every single day, in every meeting, and every time you walk on the field.
It's going to be a tough task. That's what he's got to do, though. He's got to do that going forward, and we'll see what happens this week. Hoff, always great to talk to you, my friend. Appreciate the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. Tell Luke to hang in there up there, and we'll do it again soon, buddy. Thanks for your time.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. I always feel just a little bit better after we have our Monday morning chats.
Hold me, Hoff.
Yeah, we all
give me a hug. Virtual hugs. Oh.
There you go. That's the Joe Thomas half hour of the program,
Thanks,
and
guys.
that is Cleveland Browns Daily. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.